Well, the big story today, of course, is from Pakistan, and Imran Khan all set to take over as the next Prime Minister of Pakistan. Major allegations of rigging in the Pakistani elections also flying back and forth. Joining us from Islamabad this evening via Skype is India's former Chief Election Commissioner, Mr. Syed Qureshi, who has gone there as an international observer in these elections. Mr. Qureshi, thank you for talking to us from there via Skype. What are your impressions of this election? It's been thrown into so much controversy with opposition parties alleging huge rigging. Imran Khan says that he's ready for a probe into every ballot. What were your impressions?
Didi, I'm here as a member of the Commonwealth Election Observation Delegation. Besides that, there is a European Union delegation also, and Diplomatic Corps also was allowed to observe. Where we were divided into teams, and I was covering it in Islamabad and Rawalpindi, along with a colleague of mine who is a senator from Australia. And we found, and in fact, most of us have found the system to be very transparent, very free and fair. Of course, we saw some glitches which showed either inexperience or poor training, particularly towards the end of the day when at the time of counting. But the biggest test that we were applying was that we were talking to the political party agents. I must have visited about 70 booths, and everywhere 3, 4, 5 political party agents were present, and we were probing from them because they are the first one to complain. All of them, without exception, about 200 of them said that everything was nice, everything was fine, there was no complaint at all. Despite our probing, none of them made any complaint. So I think it was a very fair, free, fair and transparent election. The one question which was raised from the beginning was the presence of army guys inside the polling
in fact, I was going to ask you about that, because there were reports, from cities like Karachi and elsewhere that the military was present in huge numbers, that they were in polling booths, etc. Now, I mean, your observations have been, thankfully, that things were free and fair. But are those the reports you're also getting from other places, from other parts of the country?
Yes, very much so, because that was the complaint which was made by political parties when we had briefings from them before the election. They all said that the deployment of troops inside the polling station is objectionable, and we questioned the Chief Election Commissioner on that. He said that the last time in 2013, the army was deployed outside the booth, and there were lots of complaints of rigging. So they didn't want to get a bad name. They said our man will be present, but under the orders of the presiding officer. He will just watch, and if he feels that there is anything wrong, he'll bring it to the notice of the presiding officer. And if he feels that presiding officer is not acting on that, then he will report to his superior army officer, who will contact the superior election commission official, and together they will intervene. So we were particularly watching that all over wherever we went. And we found that their presence was innocuous. They were just there hanging around, one man inside every booth and one man outside the booth. So therefore, we didn't see anything.
But Mr. Qureshi, can I ask you about the process itself? Because it's, fascinating for us here. We are, using the EVMs now for such a long time. It's a paper ballot there in Pakistan, and we also saw, that right after polling closes, counting begins, and 24 hours later, you more or less know who's forming the government, though we're still waiting for an official result. So how did you see that working there? And we also have multi-phase elections in this country. We're of course much bigger, but Pakistan has its own massive security problems, but they did do it all in one day.
Yes, quite right. In fact, the deployment of security was in the context of terrorist attack, which they anticipate all the time. In fact, there were 2-3 incidents which were more isolated, but overall the election was very peaceful, commendable, I would say. The counting at just after the polling was over at the polling station, it had its pluses, because right in front of the same polling agent, the counting begins. But I would not do it in India. Our system of getting it back to the counting center and then doing it more professionally is for us a better thing. Now, the only complaint which we are hearing from here and there, that the counting was not done very transparently, in the sense that polling agents were not part of the counting. They were sitting 8 yards away. Now that was, I suppose, more inexperience and very poor training. and on which, of course, we will be sending feedback to the Election Commission. I must say that the Election Commission is always very responsive to the observation of the mission. In fact, Election Act of 2017 was passed, and they have acknowledged that many provisions of the Act were changed on the basis of the recommendations.
But as you're saying that what may necessarily work for Pakistan would not necessarily work for India. Our election systems are just completely different.
Yes.
And it's interesting, they're also having simultaneous elections for the provinces and for the parliament. Your quick take on that, sir.
Right. In fact, I was very curious to see how that is working, because whether people are getting confused. Unfortunately, to the constituency, like in Islamabad, there is no provincial assembly, so there was only one election. We went to Rawalpindi, where there should have been simultaneous election. Unfortunately, the constituency where we visited, the National Assembly election had been cancelled because, somebody was convicted, and then the High Court decided that instead of giving walkover to the next candidate, there will be another election. So we saw there also only one election, which is provincial. But our reports were that it went off very smoothly. In one or two cases, the green ballot paper, which was for the National Assembly, was found in the provincial box. But those are very minor mistakes which happen because voters are very simple. Yes.
All right, well, Mr. Qureshi, thank you for joining us this evening. Great to hear your perspective there as you are there as an observer in these crucial elections. Thank you for joining us tonight. Thanks.